we've made fun of Florida State. Not enough. But
yeah, I was going to say, can I think of another joke? Michigan State. They're just always a joke.
Welcome back to the Rivalry Podcast. Jace, JP, your garbage-free college football podcast focused on the Michigan-Ohio State college football rivalry and brought to you by our friends at Elevated Integrity Construction. Be sure you're following on social media at RivalPod and at the new RivalPod.com. Be sure to subscribe and share with a friend. We have got a ton to get into for week one.
Oh,
JP.
man.
We're going to start with a little bit of wheel route to break the ice here. We are a garbage-free college football podcast. It's sports talk without all the tangents, something you can feel good about listening to. And as far as we know, the original Michigan-Ohio State podcast and why we keep doing this is a mystery to everybody, including ourselves.
Most impressive team after week one.
All right.
What team stood out to you the most?
This is an easy one for me.
Okay.
I mean, it's got to be the Miami Hurricanes, doesn't it?
There were two players that stood out to me this week, and Cam Ward was one of them.
Has to be.
Dude just looked dominant. And I heard a cool story this morning that before the game, he actually held a meeting with the players only, basically to say like, hey guys, it starts now.
Yeah.
And I mean, took command of the team and the coaches were like, we didn't plan it. He got everybody together.
Like,
and
let's focus. Let's pay
that's
attention.
game one stuff, a leader being a leader.
And granted, Florida is not a good football team, but to get embarrassed by a rival in your own building like that.
Did you see the video afterwards where, oh man,
so good.
This is the thing that makes me love sports just so much is you have Miami Hurricane players going up to recruits that Florida brought in. And they're saying, don't go to Florida, come to the U.
Don't go here.
And I'm like, oh man.
At the very end, there's, I don't know who it was. One guy, so they're all, they're having this conversation.
Yeah.
He's like over like shaking hands, like introducing himself to all these Florida Gator recruits. College sports is just the best. I love it.
We are so back.
Who else would you throw in there? You said you had another one. So Miami for me is the most impressive.
It's Raiola or however Ravioli, the guy from Nebraska.
Ravioli.
Yeah, I forgot his name after he decommitted from Ohio State because man, that dude is stinking.
You might remember him.
I'm going to remember him, and that's what hurts me the most.
Dylan Raiola.
Dylan Raiola looked phenomenal. I mean, they called him Baby Mahomes, and honestly, his game looked like it. There were a couple of throws where I'm like, I 100% get that. He is exciting. Those guys, but I think when it comes to a team, and I hate that I'm going to say this, I wrote down three, and I was gonna make myself pick one.
Okay.
I liked Penn State. I said it. Do I believe in them? No. Am I there yet? No.
This is one of the lowest moments of this podcast, and we've had a lot.
It made me sad writing it down because I also wrote down Notre Dame as an option.
And
that pained me too because Riley Leonard did not impress me. But you know who did? Drew Aller impressed me because you and I both said last week on the podcast.
We both picked West Virginia.
We picked West Virginia. And I still to this day believe West Virginia is a tough place to go in and play. And West Virginia was ready to go. I think the country felt like Penn State was going to lose game one.
Well, and that's the reason why.
They didn't just win. They didn't just win. They dominated. That wasn't in question at all.
As soon as everybody started, it's the same thing that happened with North Dakota State and Colorado. When everybody went, ooh, there's an upset, you know it's not going to happen. When everybody's circling it right there. Because we're idiots. Because it's a garbage-free college football podcast except for the opinions.
No,
that's why.
Do I think they're legit? No. But
they're not going to win the Big Ten.
No. Still third. For sure.
Fourth or fifth.
You're right. I forgot that we're now 18,000 teams.
The other team I'll throw out there too, and then we can get to the teams we actually care about, is as much as you want to hate on it, Georgia.
I had them. Those are my three.
I just, they started slow, and I'm sitting there watching it. I'm going, okay. Because the most amazing thing on the planet would be all the hype about Georgia in the preseason. Mm-hmm. Understandably so, right? Losing to Clemson in Atlanta to open the season. And at 6-0, I thought, well, this is curious. And then Georgia decided, okay, let's turn off freshman mode here and just obliterated.
Yeah.
Dabo Swinney.
You can say whatever you want about Clemson nowadays. I think that they're the top program that used to be. Absolutely not.
Close, but they're still a good program.
You'd be lying if you thought that wasn't going to be a more competitive game than it was.
And the dominance by Georgia. I mean, it is going to be, I still have Oregon after this last week, but I still have Oregon as my national champ pick. However, it's going to be tough to beat Georgia.
Yeah,
it's going to be tough
Oregon
to beat Georgia.
Didn't show too much, honestly.
What is happening with?
That's what makes college football is the best sport.
Like, I'm pretty sure the spread against Idaho was 40. I think they were favored by 45 points.
The little like triple reverse. Oh man, music to my ears.
Oregon will get better. It'll be fine.
They will. Yeah.
All right, let's talk about Ohio State. Ohio State opens with Akron. Doesn't cover, which great teams would do, but plays very well against Akron. Tell me what you saw as a Buckeye. I'll fill in some of the gaps here as an outsider, and then we'll look ahead to Western Michigan. What did you get from being at the shoe with Akron over the weekend?
Yeah, I think, and I don't want to talk about this all season long, which I think a lot of fans probably will, is the comparison of McCord versus Will Howard. I think it's
but you
fair.
have to talk about that,
for sure, and that's why we're going to do it now, and then it's going to stop.
Will it?
Because here's the thing, because Kyle McCord obviously had himself a day over the weekend.
Nice win for Syracuse.
Nice win for Syracuse against, I don't even remember who they played,
Ohio.
because nobody cared to watch that game, because guess who they were watching? The Buckeyes. And so you go out there, and you knew that was going to be the topic of discussion, is how does Will Howard look compared to what we saw with McCord? And I think that was answered pretty obviously to me. There were a couple of plays in that game specifically that I know if I was watching last year's quarterback play for the Buckeyes is a sack. And honestly, wouldn't surprise me if it was a turnover. There were a couple of plays that Will Howard was able to extend because of his legs. He did have one boneheaded Kyle McCord-esque play where he ran all the way to the right side and he turned around and he had pressure.
Yeah, what was that?
When I saw that, I thought, you were supposed to be a mature leader. I talked about you on the podcast as a mature leader, young man.
You're probably wondering how I got in this situation.
Honestly, a freeze frame in my mind, and I was just like, he just pulled a McCord. 100%.
Well, and you're right though. Like, yes, it comes down to his mobility as far as the legs go, but like just his ability to be elusive in the pocket, even if he's not taking off running.
Plays helped a ton. I mean, he had one massive run. He also was able to escape pressure on a handful of times. That was the thing that I didn't learn it because I kind of knew it. The offensive line is still the biggest question mark, but I feel confident that you can get where you need to go with Will Howard. The numbers didn't look flashy as some would want. You're not going to go out there and see in a game against Akron, you're not going to see what we used to in days old where it was your quarterback throwing for 400 yards and doing whatever. That's old. Those are long and gone.
You're exactly right though. Like you can that is the most rational take on Will Howard I've heard from you ever.
That's fair.
You can get where you need to go with Will Howard. They weren't able to do that with Kyle McCord.
Is he an improvement from Kyle McCord? The answer is absolutely yes.
Can you win a national title with him? Yes.
100%. And I feel confident
and again, that's not, don't nobody take that. That's not me saying that will happen. I'm saying, can you do it? Yes. Yes, absolutely. You have a $20 million roster. Yes, you should be able to.
Is he going to be a part of the Heisman like some people were saying? No. He won't even be top 10 in the Heisman. But will the dude go out there and have a stellar season for the Buckeyes? As long as he remains healthy, yes. The running back duo was fine. It was what I expected. I didn't really expect one person to really dominate over the other. I kind of expected it to be Travion 70 or 60 yards, Quinshawn having 50 or 60.
Which Travion, I'll say this, Travion looked, they both looked good. Now, granted, I had to look this up because I believe CBS in their preseason ranking ranked Akron 132nd.
Yes, not a good football team. Yeah, take it with a grain of salt.
But like I thought just from a performance perspective, I thought both running backs looked good. I as a football fan, I like Travion Henderson as a runner.
Did you see the block that the dude hit?
It was really good.
Oh my gosh!
But again, his issue has been, can he stay healthy? And the answer so far in his career has been not really. And that's where having Judkins in there to avoid some of that wear and tear will be helpful.
I think that's the thing. Going into this game, I wasn't expecting either of them to pop off for 100-something yards. It wasn't what I expected it to, but it showed me that if Travion goes down, there is a number one guy waiting in the corners that can come in. The other huge thing is Jeremiah Smith. It'd be
I want to talk about this for a minute.
It'd be awful to not hit on this a little bit. I mean, I was buying into the hype a little bit. I hadn't had a chance to see him play yet. We didn't get to go to the scrimmage. We didn't get to do any of that. So this was my first time seeing him in game. And I knew he was going to start. Ryan Day had already come out and said that. I thought he was going to have himself a decent outing. I thought maybe 3 or 4 catches, 30 to 40 yards. I mean, he'd show a little something, but 6 receptions, 92 yards, 2 tutties. I mean, And honestly, this is a little bit of criticism to Will Howard. The one play would have been a third touchdown had he not underthrown him a little bit.
He went down inside the 5.
He went down inside the 5. If he would have hit him in stride, it got to him, so it's fine. Yeah. But
he was also wide open.
But that's what I'm saying. It showcases his skill. But if that ball's thrown a little bit better, he's got 3 touchdowns on the day. I mean, I'm not going to buy into. I'm going to buy into he is a very, very good football player. Yeah. I'm not buying into what I've heard some people say he's going to be the best Ohio State receiver to come through.
And
is the potential there? Absolutely.
And that's the big thing from the Michigan side. And shout out our boy Dylan Davis, loves Jeremiah Smith to death.
Oh, for sure.
But here's my thing as the Michigan side of this rivalry podcast. That's the way it was being touted. That's the way that the hype has been. You know the Dr. Pepper hype train commercial where they pull the lever to full hype? That's been Jeremiah Smith. Now, let's be honest enough about football to say he had a really good day and he's going to be a really good wide receiver. Yeah. He is a really good wide receiver. At the same time, let's also be honest enough to say that Akron is not known for defense or offense or football.
No, and you're going to have to see what he does against tougher competition.
And the way it was talked up was, and I saw people saying Jeremiah Smith is going to be better than Marvin Harrison Jr. before a single snap was played. Yeah. That's the stuff that, again, you want to know why Ohio State fans are so unlikable? That's why.
Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. And I was talking to my wife about this after the game. She was asking how it was. And I said, imagine being 18 years old and you're stepping into a Division I program that's got the pedigree of an Ohio State. And you're playing in front of, there was like 102, almost 103,000 people there on Saturday. I don't care who it's against. You're playing experienced Division I athletes. Not to say that Akron's bad. Akron's awful. Believe that. I saw it.
But you're saying it's a big environment.
I'm saying there's a ton of pressure with the hype that was surrounding him, the expectations surrounding him. It's his first game as an 18-year-old. You saw a couple of those jitters. To still be able to go out there and perform. The one catch on his second touchdown was a tough in-traffic catch that he was able to snag down. I walked away wildly impressed with the composure because I couldn't do that right now as a 32-year-old man. Granted, I don't have the size or skill or talent or literally
there's a lot of reasons why neither of us could do what any of these men do.
Look, my mouth is I talk too much trash to be good at sports.
Here's the one of the other kind of, because we're looking ahead again on this podcast, we're looking towards the end of the season. What's it mean for Michigan? The answer is not anything at this point.
Yeah, it's week 1.
But here's why I bring that up is because of all the hype, as a Michigan man watching this, being in Columbus, hearing it. The issue has never been, over the last 3 seasons, the issue has not been wide receiver for Ohio State, right? Mm-hmm. You've had Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, Smith and Jigba, Marvin Harrison, Igbuka. Now you've got Jeremiah Smith in there. Like, many of those guys had a far better quarterback with Will Howard and still could not beat Michigan. So the issue, and I'm stealing this from somebody in the offseason. The issue was not, another 5-star receiver, that'll fix it. It's a good weapon to have, but it's got to be, it's what Nick Saban said, right? We'll let it. It's Nick Saban saying you can spend $20 million on your roster, but if you don't play the right players or have the right players, you're out of luck. Yeah. That's what that's going to look like.
Word for word what he said.
Definitely verbatim. And that's where the big issue is going to be offensive line. Still not that impressed against a bad Akron team. And so time will tell. Yeah. It takes, and we'll get to this with Michigan, it takes time for your O-line to gel. It takes time to get going. Thankfully, you've got Western Michigan this weekend.
Yeah, and week 1, like you said it perfectly right there. Week 1, you learn a couple of things, but nothing is in concrete yet. You expect your offense.
You're getting live fire for the first time,
and you expect your offense to be a little bit slow.
There should be there should be improvement, and obviously between week 1 and week 12. You're going to see vastly different football teams.
You saw it week 1 where Ohio State came out and in the first half was slow. And honestly, some of their play calling from Chip Kelly was a little concerning. And then the second half was just what you would have expected going through.
It was fun. It was fun for a moment when it was 3-0, stop the count.
Yes.
And honestly, it was mid-ish third quarter. It was still 17-3. It was, and again, Ohio State was never in danger of losing that football game. But it is fun to see a $20 million roster struggle a little bit here and there.
Yeah, and I don't know if I would say 52-6 overall was the struggle, but
coming up next though, Western Michigan and New York Times had kind of done their own like ranking of teams preseason.
Yeah,
Western Michigan was ranked 111th which had them behind Hawaii and nestled near something called Sam Houston State.
It ain't going to be pretty.
So, and yet they also played Wisconsin really well.
I was going to say, so in my notes, I was looking at that. Well, Wisconsin also is bad. They've got Miami University's transfer quarterback who lost to Rutgers last year in the bowl game.
Yeah, well.
I just like to bring that up that Rutgers did win a bowl game before Michigan State. So
shout out to Jonathan Smith for just gutting out a win at home against FAU.
Yeah, it's real strong. Western Michigan coming to the shoe this weekend, 7:30 at night kickoff.
Because
these
God
first
knows
2 weeks
why.
are being so weird kickoff wise, and I kind of hate it. But I am excited to go see a nice game under the lights. Like you mentioned, Western Michigan lost to Wisconsin week 1, 28-14, but they had the lead, dude. They had the lead
quarter,
14-13. The Broncos were rolling.
By the way, Wisconsin plays Alabama here real quick.
Oh,
so
yikes.
Good luck with that. Western was 3-8 last year against non-FCS teams, just for some more perspective. This is Akron, but a little bit north. And also west.
Yeah. This is going to be exactly like what you just saw this past weekend. There's not going to be a lot that you learn about the Buckeyes. This is the game that I think the Buckeye ground game can really get going. I saw against Wisconsin, they almost gave up 200 yards against who the heck's running back for Wisconsin. I couldn't tell you right now.
Not Braylon Allen.
It's not Braylon Allen or anybody that's going to be anything worth trash. But they gave up 200 yards. I think Wisconsin ran the ball like 46 times. And so I guess if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But I expect Henderson. I expect Judkins. Honestly, I expect a little bit of James Peoples to get some action. Yep. He scored his first. I think he scored a touchdown this past weekend. There were so many being scored that I just lost count eventually. It's going to be ugly. I got my final prediction: Ohio State 45, Western Michigan 7.
Yeah, we're not too far off on our predictions here. Western Michigan's quarterback play at Wisconsin was abysmal. Their running game was actually okay. I'm not gonna say it was good, but it was okay. They've got the same ability as Akron did to be frustrating at times, but never pose any remote threat. Like even when it was a little bit choppy at half for Ohio State was never in any remote danger.
Everybody in the stadium knew. The guy sitting next to me in the press box literally walked in midway through the first, wrote down some notes, slammed about 3 pulled pork sandwiches and some mac and cheese, and he got up and said, "All right, I'm heading home."
Honestly, 17-3. I respect that.
100%. He was a big move.
Don't do that. I've got 49-6. Just because
49-6?
49-6.
Okay.
Again, this is Akron 2.0. There's not going to be anything different this week. Western Michigan is not going to hang around. Ohio State is not going to be in trouble. It's going to be what you just watched. You're going to watch it again, but a little bit later at night. Mm-hmm. That's all that you're going to get.
It's the first Michigan team that gets to lose in Ohio Stadium this year. I can't wait.
First one in a while, isn't it? Hey, want to say a big thanks to our friends at Elevated Integrity Construction, because maybe you feel a little bit like Dabo Sweeney and Clemson. You know what you're doing isn't working, and you need to transfer in some help. But unlike Dabo, you can actually do it. Our friends at Elevated Integrity Construction,
Florida State, get on the phone,
are the portal to a successful project. Aaron Carroll and his team, they've been doing this a long time. They'll communicate openly and honestly with you and leave you wowed at the final product. Home, church, or business build, go with the folks with integrity in their name. ElevatedIntegrity.com. Aaron, we're thankful for you. Thanks for sponsoring again. Another big change this year. The Rivalry Podcast, proud to be part of the Varsity Network, powered by Learfield, and a must-have for every college football fan. Varsity Network is free to download in the App Store and Google Play. You can enjoy live college football games and podcasts just like this one. Wow. You can search for your school, find tailored content, be sure to search for the Rivalry Podcast in the Varsity Network app, and be sure to subscribe there and wherever you're listening to your podcasts. And then finally, the new hub, rivalpod.com. You can support the podcast with exclusive merch, just like this one if you are watching on YouTube. Go to rivalpod.com. Shirts are absolutely gorgeous. They sold out immediately.
Right now they're just up for pre-order.
We are in pre-order, so you can still order them. Don't wait on that, though.
And we do have some stickers, though, that you could get in the meantime while you're waiting for your shirt to get there.
Still got some stickers. Jump on those shirts. Pre-order is available right now. Just click support at rivalpod.com. We've got articles up there each week, YouTube versions of the episode.
Mm-hmm. Just put some pictures up of the game on Saturday.
Even something called Buy Me a Buckeye, which I don't enjoy, but also it supports
Not
the podcast.
Actual nut, like the delicious peanut butter chocolate one.
Is that how that works? Cool.
Have you been buying me the nut, the poisonous
That's my
nut?
bad. Rivalpod.com, and thanks for subscribing and sharing with your friends. All right. Let's talk about Michigan.
Oh, let's.
Michigan, 30-10 win over Fresno State, but a lot of question marks on the offensive side of the ball.
Can we talk about the first surprise of the night? I don't think it's weird because I think both of us going into the season, we felt confident Alex Orji is QB1.
It sure seemed like it, yeah.
When you and I went to the spring game, both of us, while we thought that Alex Orji played a good game, both of us thought Davis Warren actually played very well.
He threw the ball better.
He threw the ball for sure way better.
Which appears to be something that you want your quarterbacks to do.
You're going to need it.
So Davis Warren ends up getting the start. Now, I am still, admittedly, I'm not clear, and I'm not sure that Michigan is clear or is being clear on, is Davis Warren the QB1 moving forward?
Yeah.
It seems like he is, but Sharon Moore has talked about the fact that Alex Orji is going to continue. Obviously, he's going to continue to get reps, and he's going to continue to have an increased role in the game. So how much, what does that look like on a week-to-week basis is probably anybody's guess. Probably depends on the team, depends on the situation.
You wish you had your schedule of years past where you kind of had the first couple of games to test this theory out.
That's entirely it.
That's what this game ultimately was.
I would give a spleen for Akron and Western Michigan right about now, because Fresno State is not a bad football team. This team won 9 games last year. They are going to win 9 or 10 games this year. They'll challenge Boise State in the Mountain West, but there is a tier difference, obviously, between where Fresno State plays and where Michigan plays. Michigan replaced 10 offensive starters, and it looked like it. It was not. Now, I'll say this too. It was not, in hindsight, sometimes you have to kind of let the game sit. You got to sleep on it. You got to revisit it. It was not as awful as sky falling. This was not John O'Corn. Okay. This was not the John O'Corn era, but there are obviously some concerns for Michigan. And a lot of that has to do with, you've also gotten used to top 10 draft pick JJ McCarthy and Blake Corum and this veteran offensive line.
Roman Wilson. And
you've got a brand new offensive line trying to gel, and it looked like a struggle for them. The 3rd and 1, the 3rd and short play where they got blown up was probably the quintessential, let's encapsulate one of the issues for Michigan right now. That someone had remarked, that's like the first time Michigan's gotten stopped short in 3 years. Probably true, because the offensive line has been really good. The other thing I want to say is that the quarterback position for Michigan was not, I don't even know if I'd say it was the main issue. It was a combination of things, right? Like you've got Davis Warren underthrowing a guy for an interception. If he hits him in stride, it's a touchdown, and that game looks completely different. But you also have, as good of a game as Colston Loveland played, he had a pretty bad drop that would have given them a first down at one point. You had Tyler Morris, who's a veteran guy who should know what he's doing, had the touchdown in the Rose Bowl, inexplicably quit on a route. No idea what that was. Donovan Edwards struggled again. How much of that is, comes back to offensive line too? There's a lot of it. I mean, Jim Harbaugh said it best, where he said, what's the one position that relies on nobody else to be great, but everybody else relies on them? It's offensive line. So there's a lot of things here for Michigan that just were not clicking in week 1. As a Buckeye, what are you seeing from that first one? Because I don't think there's a way. I think there's a way to be rational about it, where it's not everything is awful, but there's also some reasonability to go, that was concerning.
Yeah, as a Buckeye fan, I'm watching this team and I'm going, please start Davis Warren the rest of the year. To me, Alex Orji, whether he throws the ball or not, I think you almost have to move your offense around to what he's able to do, which is run the dang ball. It's that blindside. Run the dang ball. It's that. You've got Khalil Mullins, who I think is a better running back than Donovan Edwards at this point.
I think you will probably see him featured against Texas.
I am, until Donovan Edwards proves otherwise, I am off the train that he is an elite player anymore.
I think that's fair. I think he's a good player.
I think the potential is there, but potential only gets you so far. It's about what you do in game. And 11 for 27 is not going to cut it against Fresno State, where you are talked up. You are the cover athlete of the college football video game. You're talked up as being the elite guy. Everybody's excited for you to come back, and you show up 1 or 2 games. Granted, they're games that count, but to me, if you're watching this, I'm looking at Davis Warren and I'm going, he can't. 100-something yards isn't going to cut it when you're playing Fresno State, or when you're playing Texas, Ohio State, Penn State, Oregon, Washington. Like, you can't have a quarterback that's incapable of throwing the ball, especially when your running game, the one you're counting on in Donovan Edwards, isn't getting the job done. Now, thankfully, you guys have Khalil Mullins, and I think he's a stud. Colston Loveland had a good game, like you said. I mean, he had the one drop, but other than that, he was fine.
He's the guy. He's the safety valve. He's the Travis Kelce, right?
Here's the thing that impressed me walking out of that game is that when push came to shove and Fresno State went down and scored a touchdown almost at will, and the score was 16-10, I believe, because I was driving home from the Buckeye game and I had to wait till I got home to watch it. So I caught the second half.
Yeah.
And so I'm watching this and I see Fresno State go down, and they had been testing Will Johnson all day and winning, to be honest. And you go down, not dominating him, not dominating, but they were winning that. And they go down and they go 16-10, and it feels you almost felt the air out of the stadium just get sucked out, where everybody's like, "Oh crap." Their offense.
It goes from hanging around to, okay, we're actually in a position now where we've got to be able to move the ball.
Especially with how the offense had been moving, there's just not a lot of faith. And what did Michigan do? 7 plays, 75-yard drive, right down, immediately answered. And it was
the Khalil Mullins fest.
And that's what I was going to say, is I thought, okay, I watched it, but I wanted to go see what the individual plays were. How much did Davis Warren have to do with this? What were the actual play calls? And it was Khalil Mullins. And then there was a random, Colston Loveland was the touchdown catch. Yeah. And that was the only pass that they threw. So it reminded me of Penn State last year, where they were like, all right, screw it. Here, hand the ball off and see if you can stop it again. And it wasn't Donovan Edwards getting the play calls. And I thought that was huge to me.
And I think that's a great testament to what Michigan's offense can be. Now, they're not going to be the dynamic offense that they have been in years past. They also don't have to be. What you do have to do is you've got to play into your strengths. And I thought that there were just a number of things in that game, and I listed about from quarterback play, O-line play, wide receivers, mistakes, even play calling, that just did not set themselves up for success. Yeah. Where this team is going to get stuck is going to be when they get behind the sticks. You take a false start, you take a holding penalty. You get dropped, it's 2nd and 12 now because you lost a couple yards on the opening run. Stuff like that is going to be more difficult for this team to overcome, at least early on. So to be able to get those big plays on, to make it second and manageable is going to be critical every single drive for this. It's going to be growing pains. And again, you replaced 10 offensive starters.
Yeah.
This should not be, in one sense, this should not be surprising. I think because when you've had success, especially when you've had offensive success like the last handful of years, it kind of takes you a second to go, okay, right. We don't have McCarthy and Wilson and Johnson and Corum, and you got to kind of settle down a little bit there.
So as you were watching that game on Saturday, obviously leading into this week, and we can start talking
Texas,
about what everybody's been talking about since last season ended, is Texas is going to be coming to Ann Arbor for a noon kick, which sucks. I wish it was a little bit later.
I had hoped it would be a night kick. Logistically for driving back to Columbus. Noon kick is great.
Fresno State was the better choice. So what are your thoughts after watching this team this past weekend, and then also seeing what Texas did to Colorado State?
Yeah.
And then now you're looking ahead, confidence level, and then your insights on a scale of 1 to 10, confidence level that Michigan can pull out a win. And then obviously your thoughts on it.
I mean, confidence level is a 5. I mean, it's a coin flip for me because I just, the offensive side of the ball has questions, but for as many questions as the offense has, the defense doesn't. And so that this is going to be very much a Texas offense, Michigan defense. I mean, these are what these two teams are good at, right? Strength on strength type stuff, right? That's how it's been described. The good news is that if you don't have a dog in this fight, this is going to be a blast of a football game to watch.
I am so glad that Ohio State isn't playing until 7:30 at night, so I can watch the entirety of this.
I mean, you got Quinn Ewers, Jaden Blue, Isaiah Bond is back. I wish I could stop seeing Isaiah Bond play, but okay, I guess we had him with Alabama in the Rose Bowl. I guess we'll see him again. It's a really good offense, but Michigan's defense, I think, matches up really well with it. Michigan's defense is used to seeing offenses of this caliber. Look at the last 3 games they played last season. Ohio State, Alabama, Washington. Those are phenomenal offenses, and they were up to the task. Yeah, you've got some guys that went to the NFL. You also retained a lot of guys, and guys like Jayshon Barham coming into the portal. I mean, Michigan's defense is set. Michigan's defense is really, really good. a home game early in the season where opponents like Texas can get a little bit rattled, especially if they get behind the sticks. Okay, like this defense, again, whatever the offense is or isn't, it was also week 1.
Mm-hmm.
The defense will give Michigan a chance to win every single game. The flip side, where it's Michigan's offense, Texas defense, this is where it is just utterly unpredictable for me. 2023, Texas defense held teams to about 19 points a game, 265 yards per game. Michigan, by comparison, 10 points and 150. So a good defense, not a great defense for Texas last year. But also comparison only gets you so far, and it's not 2023, it's 2024. I'm going to expect basically, and I think you hit on this, you're going to expect Michigan's kind of what I'll call their old school bread and butter, where it is, we are going to, I mean, that's Sharon's thing, right? Smash, smash, smash. That's what you're going to see. A lot of Kalel Mullings. I think MGO Blog did a great job talking about him being the feature back. Donovan Edwards is kind of more of a wrinkle in the system. I think that's spot on. I think that's exactly how he should be used. I think that's exactly how he's going to be used. I would say as far as the quarterback play goes, obviously receivers are going to have to be more involved. And again, I'll credit MGO Blog for this as well. When Fresno State stopped respecting the receiving game, you can stack the box. And no wonder the offensive line is having trouble. No wonder the run game is struggling for chunks of that game. So if you're Michigan, you're going to have to get your receivers involved in some way. You don't have to, if it's not the deep shots down the field, I know everybody, myself included, hates kind of the dink and dunk stuff. But if that's what you have to do to open up your run game, you're going to have to utilize it. And it will take guys like Tyler Morris and Samaj Morgan being factors in the game. I am sure that those conversations are happening, but there's a difference between conversation and execution.
Play on the field.
Elite defense, elite offense. I think that's going to be a fun matchup. I am going to still buy Michigan's defense. I'm going to buy Michigan's defense as doing enough. I'm going to also buy that Michigan's offense is improved. I do not think that what you saw in week 1 is what you will see every single week. Now, I would love for Texas to come in about week 8 versus week 2. I don't think that does them any favors, but I do think that getting whatever that was out of your system, I think that is actually a good thing. I think now you can have guys come in, you can have them execute, you can take it's high energy, obviously, but you can take the jitters out and just go play football. I think that's going to be a benefit to Michigan. I'm going to take Michigan in this. I'm going to take Michigan 23-21. I like Michigan in this. And by the way, how about Dominic Zavada as a weapon?
2 of them from 50 plus. Baller.
I'm trying to trademark Zvada Bing, Zvada Boom.
No, stop.
I think
that's like when I tried to call Jeremiah Smith. I don't know if you saw this on Twitter. I said John Jacob Jeremiah Smith.
That's terrible. Zvada Bing, Zvada Boom's got.
I also kept referring to the Akron quarterback as putting some zip on the ball, and nobody seemed to like that either.
No, it's a coin flip for me. Give me Michigan by 2 at home. I think the home environment helps them out and does just enough. Defense is elite.
No, absolutely not. I just don't see it. I hear your point about it's good to get those things out of the way, but I feel like you can only really say that when a team has proven that they're not that. And this is the first time this offense has really been out there. They've got so many new guys on there.
Which is why that stuff has got to take a week to figure it out.
And I see what you're trying to say. I just think that that might be just who they are. You don't have game film to say that they can perform higher than that. And so to me...
But you also don't know that they can't.
And that's what I'm saying. So I don't...
You're just not buying it.
I'm not buying it yet. I'm basing it off what I saw on Saturday. And what I saw on Saturday was an offense that outside of one drive struggled to score anything against a Fresno State team that is all right. They're good. But like you said, there's different levels to this.
Sure.
And so I'm looking at Texas, who just dismantled Colorado State. I'm looking at Quinn Ewers.
Okay, Colorado State, by the way, is not remotely close to Fresno either.
No, but I'm watching
Colorado
them win
State
52.
Is like better than Akron, but not great.
But I'm watching them win 52-0, and Quinn Ewers isn't even playing the end of the third through the entire fourth. And then Archie Manning comes in and has 2 drives that are long drives down the field, and he scores 2 touchdowns. And
Yeah,
I'm watching.
their offense is good. No one's debating if their offense is good.
And I think that your defense is good, but there were times even against Fresno State where Fresno State was driving. I mean, towards the end of the game where Will Johnson picks him off for 86 yards.
Okay,
they were still down there.
Did you watch the game?
Yes.
Did you watch that? No, that drive in particular. Did you watch that drive?
Yes.
Why were they moving the ball? Why were they down there? Michigan had an interception that was called back because I think Jayshon Barham kind of touched Mikey Keene on the shoulder and Keene fell over.
Can't do it.
And then Jayshon Barham's towel was stolen and Barham walked over to him and got so you had 30 yards of penalties on one play.
Sloppy play.
No, that's ridiculous, and you know it.
And I think the first interception.
So there was no driving the field there. The ball was honest.
I think the first interception you guys had should have been a catch from Fresno State's receiver, and it was tipped off his hands. I just think Quinn Ewers, he's too good. He's too experienced. I think your defense is good, but I don't think your offense can do enough. I've got Texas winning 27-10. I think it's a very sad day in the Evans household, and I'm going to have a very, very happy Saturday.
So for all the picks where we have been really close, we are just could not be.
I think the biggest key for you guys in this game, I think your defense is going to be fine, which is why I don't have them Texas scoring more than 27. I think for you guys to pull this upset is going to have to be exactly what you said. You're going to have the defense prove that it's elite. And in my opinion, Donovan Edwards is going to have to be the Donovan Edwards people talk him up to be. If you have Donovan Edwards that played against Fresno State, you're not winning the game.
I don't even know if it's about Don as much as it is, can you, I mean, I'm
running
going
the
to
ball
maintain,
in general, but
it's going to involve better play call. It's going to involve better execution, like all these things. I'm the guys that did not execute to the level that they needed to. The Tyler Morrises, the Smosh Morgans, the Donovan Edwards are guys that we have seen produce. Like those are not unproven things. We've seen those guys produce. The fact that they didn't in week 1 with a whole new quarterback, O-line, whatever, does not give me season-long concern at this stage. Again, it's hard to tell because it's week 2, and that's what's so infuriating about this is both of these scenarios could happen, right? Here's my big question. My biggest question is, will Bevo be there? The Michigan flag is falling. That's not good.
Just like their program.
So Bevo is obviously Texas's Longhorn mascot, and I tried Googling before this episode. Does Bevo travel to away games?
Does he travel?
Sometimes.
Will he be there?
I don't know. I want him to be there. I want a picture with Bevo.
I would not trust being. Have you seen the videos of those things?
So I'm glad you brought that up because I found something on Wikipedia that was called Bevo Encounters with Others, and I just want to read these
He's
verbatim.
People?
Bevo II once charged an SMU cheerleader who defended himself with a megaphone. Bevo III escaped his enclosure and ran loose across Texas campus for 2 days. Bevo IV once attacked a parked car.
Haven't we all?
Bevo V broke loose and scattered the Baylor band. Bevo 15, this is the one that you've probably seen, broke free of handlers and tried to attack Georgia mascot Ugga 10, an English bulldog.
I did see that. Wow, what a deep memory.
I love this. The live mascot thing is awesome.
I'm so sad that I won't be there to
Mike
get video
Tiger,
of him just
Bevo.
Launching you 10 feet into the air.
Again, I have no idea if Bevo's going to be there.
Oh man, game day is going to be
awesome.
there though, which is really awesome. Game day's
going to be there. And again, make sure you're following Rival Pod across social media. I'm excited. Whatever happens, it's going to be a phenomenal college football
atmosphere. The environment
to
start off with is going to be great.
This is why we love college sports, right? Like, yeah, you want your team to win, obviously, but just the emotion, the environment, the pageantry, this is what it's all about. Ann Arbor is going to have all of it. Stupid Genius this week. Actually, before we get there,
can my boys from Jersey
hit me up with a little Rutgers to the Rose Bowl?
Rutgers to the Rose Bowl right now. They're coming off a win against Howard.
Which, by the way, if you're new to the program, you are also a Rutgers fan for God knows why. Rutgers to the Rose Bowl is where we chart how likely it is that Rutgers makes the Rose Bowl. That's pretty much it, y'all.
They're 1-0 right now, and guess who they got coming to the shores of Piscataway, which I don't even know if that's a thing, but the shores of Jersey.
It's not.
The shores of Jersey.
Who do they have this week?
They got the Akron Zips, who I just got to see this past week, and let me tell you, they are not good. And so I've got Rutgers starting the season 2-0.
We've got at rivalpod.com, we have this Shiano meter. think it started like 50% chance to make the Rose Bowl, which that is not remotely true.
No. I thought I put it at 4 out of 5. I forget what I sent our producer, Eric, but I think it was around there. It's high right now. It will not be by season's end, but we're all here for it.
That's great. Because Howard was clenchy for a few minutes there.
Here's the thing with Rutgers, and then we can move on. No one wants us
to break down the Rutgers game.
Them talking about
nobody cares.
Callie McManus from Minnesota. We've had years to watch him. He's nothing special. He was an improvement from Gavin Wimsatt, but anybody could have been at this point. Kyle Monangai's the offense. If you stop Kyle Monangai, the Big Ten rushing leader from last year, you stop him, their offense isn't moving the ball.
Cool. Nobody cares.
I do deeply.
Stupid genius. Upset pick of the week. We both picked West Virginia last week.
Incorrect.
Wrong Country pick. Roads, take me out.
Honestly, our backup one that we talked about would have been incorrect. We both were going to pick Florida over Miami.
Yeah.
And that one would have been almost as bad.
Can I go back and change mine to Boston College? Because
look, my strat from the season, rest of the season, whoever the heck Florida State plays, or Clemson, to be honest.
So the rules for Stupid Genius. Got to be at least a 5-point spread underdog, at least at the time we're recording this. We're recording this on Tuesday morning. At least a 5-point underdog according to the spread, and you get however many points the spread is if you get it right.
This is going to be the one that differentiates us because I know you would never choose this.
Okay, go for it.
Colorado over Nebraska.
What are they underdogs?
Yeah, 7-point dogs right now.
To Nebraska?
Yep,
well, I guess Dylan Raiola factor.
Yep, 7-point dogs right now. It's on the road. They are at Nebraska.
I would never take that.
I know.
Number one, because Colorado is trash. Colorado is the most overrated program in the country.
Here for it.
I'm sick of seeing Coach Prime on the sidelines.
Run me my theme music.
I do like his beard. That's solid. Yeah, I would take Nebraska every day. I've already given you mine. Michigan is now at 6.5, maybe 7-point underdogs to Texas.
Okay, well,
I'm still going to take Michigan in this
falling behind this week.
You got anything else here? We've made fun of Florida State. Not enough. But
yeah, I was going to say, can I think of another joke? Michigan State. They're just always a joke. So
0-2. Imagine if you will, the playoff is expanded to 12 teams.
And you're already eliminated.
It's Labor Day.
It's Labor
Day, and you are already done for the season.
Imagine being a team that's suing the NCAA, and then you come out and look like this.
It's the ACC, isn't it?
It doesn't matter.
Someone had remarked, if the deposition or whatever doesn't reference Florida State being 0-2, what are we even doing at this point? Across social media at Rival Pod. Again, we'll be live from both Ann Arbor and Columbus this weekend. Going to split off. Should be a great game, great weekend of football. At Rival Pod, rivalpod.com. Get yourself a shirt. Make sure you support. And through the Varsity Network to make sure you're listening and subscribing as well. And we can't wait. Should be a good weekend.
Yep, go Bucks.
The Rivalry is a production of River Radio Ministries. Want live updates from the show? Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at RivalPod. To learn how to support the show, shop our merch, and read our blogs, visit rivalpod.com. Make sure to follow us wherever you're listening now for new episodes every Tuesday. And if you like what you're hearing, tell a friend so they can listen too.